the April 11th, 2022 Tualatin City Council meeting. We got quite a few attendees tonight for a very special reason. Thank you all attending tonight. Let's go ahead and I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start off with our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by Councilor Reyes.
Hello, everyone. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up is our moment of silence for those lost their lives to COVID-19, led by Councilor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Currently, according to the New York Times, we have lost 984,000 people. We're approaching 1 million people to COVID-19 in the US. And here in Oregon, we've lost 7,296 people. And I know with Easter coming up and other holidays that, like the president says, some people have a empty chair at their table. So please join me in honoring those that we've lost to COVID-19 and those suffering with a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you.
You, Councilor Brooks. All right, so that leads us into announcements. Our first announcement is a new employee introduction. We have a new police records specialist that will be introduced by Chief Steele.
Yes.
There's so many people here tonight. There's Chief.
Yeah, Melissa, could you maybe use the function and raise your hand on there? And I think that'll pop you to the front of the screen so people can see you.
I'm not sure how, actually. This is like the first time I've done Zoom.
Well, we'll work with this. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're happy to have Melissa Vaughn with us. She is a police services tech assigned to our records section. She came to us on March 14th. She came with experience, worked for 5 years at the city of Hillsborough and the city of Yamhill. So working in our records section, she's one of a team of 3 records folks. They're kind of face of the department for whenever somebody comes in the lobby or makes a phone call. The rec office is the first one that they get to see. So we enjoy having those faces up there to greet the public and our community. They stay fairly busy. They process literally thousands of police reports every year and handle all the citations that the officers write. So it's a pretty busy area to work. And, Melissa, like I said, came to us with some good experience. She stays busy in her off time with 3 growing kids involved in sports. So she gets to shuffle them around all their activities. And I just know that we're very happy to have her, and she's going to be part of the team.
Well, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, and you came from Hillsborough, Chief said?
Yes, I worked for 5 years at the Hillsborough Police Department.
All right, it's kind of nice to, I guess, steal employees from Hillsborough. We're losing employees to Hillsborough, so now it's payback time.
Yeah.
So welcome very much to the city of Tualatin. The floor is yours if you want to say hello or whatever you'd like to do.
I'm just happy to be here. Everybody's been really great, and I really like the work, so I'm happy to be at Tualatin.
All right, well, welcome, and look forward to crossing paths with you at the police department. I'm in now there, not frequently, thankfully. When I'm in there, I'll say hello, and looking forward to meeting you in person sometime soon, hopefully before the next police banquet next year. So
yeah, thank you.
All right. So next up is a proclamation declaring April 22nd as Earth Day in the city of Tualatin, and this will be read by Councilor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Declaring April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day in the city of Tualatin. Whereas Earth Day is celebrated annually worldwide, and the theme for 2022 is in our planet. And whereas the city of Tualatin acknowledges the importance of Earth Day as a reminder of our community's connection to the planet and our responsibility to preserve and protect our environment. And whereas a sound natural environment is the foundation of a healthy society and a robust economy, therefore, the importance of Earth Day has grown as the potential consequences of climate change, species decline, and reliance on non-renewable energy supplies have come into sharper focus. And whereas on this day of snow, and whereas the City of Tualatin 2030 vision includes that Tualatin's an environmentally active, sustainable, responsible, and forward-thinking community that values and protects our natural resources, inhabitants, and habitat, and Tualatin is invested in creating a climate action plan that includes the entire community. Now, therefore, be it claimed by the City Council of the City of Tualatin, Oregon, that Section 1, all residents and businesses are urged to support efforts to protect our natural environment, enact environmentally sound lifestyle practices, and to observe Earth Day as an opportunity to acknowledge the connections between people and the natural environment. Section 2, the City of Tualatin is in the state of Oregon hereby recognizes April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day, introduced and adopted this 11th day of April, 2020. Thank you.
Councilor Brooks, thank you. Next up is a proclamation declaring the week of April 17th through 23rd, 2022 as Volunteer Appreciation Week in the City of Tualatin. And part of this is annually we recognize our outstanding volunteers, and usually we have a little party, if you will, at the Pole Center, but COVID has prevented us from doing it this year. But I definitely look forward to next year doing this in person and being able to chat with all those terrific volunteers we have in town. 2021 was a tough year. COVID continued, but we had outstanding volunteers that didn't deter them. COVID didn't slow them down. They doubled down and helped out the city with all kinds of projects. And those projects included stuff happening in our parks, in our library, and the Pole Center. And a lot of the projects helped address some critical needs we had in the city. I've got some stats here from Jackie Conan, who helps coordinate our volunteer efforts. So we had 785 volunteers give 10,800 hours of their time to a variety of city programs. Volunteers planted over 4,000 trees and got tough on trash in a new volunteer program called Hug a Street. Volunteers shelved books, spruced up the library, and both welcomed and engaged users at our new makerspace in the library. Outreach volunteers spent over 60 hours connecting vulnerable residents of Tualatin with emergency rent and utility assistance, very much needed. Do-it-yourself volunteers scheduled their own time to remove invasive plants and litter from our restoration sites and trails. Over 100 summer youth volunteers came out to the library as part of the library's summer team program and Team Tualatin. The Juanita Pole Center guest services team contributed many hours to organizing the center for reopening, creating a welcoming environment for all throughout the uncertainty of resuming programs. And everybody was looking forward to having the Pole Center reopen. I heard from residents of all ages how they look forward to that. Joining and celebrating and appreciating the positively awesomeness of our volunteers in Tualatin who gave time and talent to the community is the key feature of tonight. So we'll have the proclamation first read by Councilor Pratt, and then we'll get into recognizing quite a few of our outstanding volunteers. So Councilor Pratt.
Declaring the week of April 17th through April 23rd, 2022 as Volunteer Appreciation Week in the City of Tualatin. Whereas the entire community can inspire, equip, and mobilize people to take action that changes the world, and whereas in 2021, over 700 volunteers contributed approximately 10,800 hours of their time, equivalent of about 5 full-time employees, to the betterment of our community. And whereas volunteers give freely of their time, talents, and energy, and ask only for a thank for their countless hours of service. And whereas it has been a long-standing tradition in our community for individuals, families, and local businesses to volunteer to make a difference in our community. And whereas it is fitting to recognize our volunteers for dedicated service, now therefore be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Tualatin, Oregon, that Section 1, the week of April 17th, 2022 through April 23rd, 2022 be proclaimed Volunteer Appreciation Week in the City of Tualatin. Section 2, the City of Tualatin takes great pleasure in honoring the volunteers of our community and conveying our sincere gratitude and appreciation for their committed, selfless, and compassionate efforts. We celebrate volunteers who lend their talent and voice to make a difference in the community. Introduced and adopted this 11th day of April, 2022.
All right, thank you, Councilor Pratt. We now have a short video that was prepared by city staff, council members, and other folks who work alongside our volunteers. So we'll go ahead and watch this video together, and I think Bates will go ahead and kick that off.
Little technical issue. Let's give me a second. We'll find
I think we're having technical difficulty, and our IT guy's gonna have to figure out. No pressure, Bates.
I'll be writing this down for later, Mayor.
Thank you for your patience.
So we've got the right man on the job.
Yeah. See, it's a lot easier when you're in person. You know, these Zoom meeting things are makes it difficult to present. All right, part 2. Go Bates.
Hi, volunteers. The thing I most appreciate about you is your joy. The joy that you bring to picking up litter, planting trees. It's really a blast to get to know you this past year.
Hi, volunteers. This is Mariah from the library. Just give a shout out to say thank you so much for spending quarantine 2021 at the library and throughout the city doing your amazing tasks and essential volunteering. We are so happy to have you, and it's been a blast being able to see new faces, regular faces, and those lifetime award-winning faces. So thanks so much for all that you do and being as to the everyday life in Tualatin.
Hello, Tualatin volunteers.
Hey volunteers, we're so thrilled with all of the stuff you've done with the library for the past, well, really 2 weeks. It's been amazing.
Yeah, yes. There is so much we would not do. Like, first, let's talk about the 20,000 craft bags. And that sounds like a made up word, but that is a real number. We gave out 20,000 craft bags, and Amy and I didn't do all that work. We did some of it. But we could not have done that without the help of our amazing craft prep crew with so much volunteer engagement. Tony and Kathleen and Kay and so many people that contributed to that project that we so appreciate.
Right. And then, my team volunteers, my team library committee kept meeting during the whole time and still in program. So special shout out to TLC, and super exciting, 2 of the 3 volunteers this year are TLC members. So Aaliyah and Sakata, you rock. Thank you so much for everything. So much.
And we're all very excited that some of our regular services for volunteers are back. For a while, we didn't have volunteers coming into the library to help us with shelving and holds and that kind of activity. But we've got that back now. So Bobby and Sheldon are back, and we've got Joan Hornberg back, and we've got so many amazing volunteers back and helping out Thea. And it's so great to see everybody. We really appreciate all of your help out the year.
So thanks everybody for being awesome, and we'll hopefully see you in the library real soon.
Woohoo!
Thank you to Tualatin volunteers.
Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being a fantastic part of the community and making libraries change people's lives. That's what you do. Thank you for your volunteer work.
Hello, everyone. What do I appreciate about Tualatin's volunteers? So many things. Here are the top 3 things that I appreciate about you, our volunteers. Number 1, you care so much about our community. You demonstrate every time you volunteer. You sit on boards and committees, gather your families, friends, and coworkers to make Tualatin a great place to live, work, and play. Number 2, your versatility. Many of you volunteer in multiple areas in different ways, from pick up litter to planting trees, shelving books, or helping in the library's makerspace, and at the Juanita Poll Center, working in our city offices or from home after a day's work. Your joyful, generous spirit. It is an honor and a privilege to work with you. Thank you for everything you do. Tualatin's volunteers are positively
We are honoring 780 positively amazing volunteers for their contribution to our community in 2021. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to each of you for getting involved and making a difference in the health and well-being of our city. It has been a pleasure being side by side with you over the last year. We've planted trees, we've hunted down trash, we've painted fire hydrants, we've built trails. Most of all, it's been wonderful getting to know you and your families. The time, talent, and enthusiasm you have given are greatly appreciated.
Thank you for everything that you do to make this Tualatin a better place to be. Your work has a huge impact that I see every day in the library. I wish you all health and happiness for 22 and hope that this partnership continues to flourish. And a sincere thank you.
On behalf of Park Maintenance, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you have done on our behalf. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Tom, Parks Manager for the City of Tualatin. I just wanted to say thanks to all the volunteers that help us do so many things, like plant trees, spread mulch, pick up litter, cut blackberries. All the fun things that we get to do in the city wouldn't be half as much fun with all the volunteer support. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jerriann Thompson, Library Director for the City of Tualatin. And I want to thank all of you awesome volunteers for the great work that you've done over the past year. We so appreciate each and every one of you. Whether you did craft preparation, planted trees, helped with programs, shelved books, or did a do-it-yourself project in one of our neighborhood parks, you made a difference in our community. Thank you.
All right, terrific. I want to, before we start shining the spotlight onto our outstanding volunteers of the year, I want to circle back and thank Jackie Conan and Margaret Gunther on all their efforts to coordinate our volunteers in the city They do a terrific job. They're out there day and night, weekends. I know Jackie on Saturday. So I want to thank both of you for coordinating all these efforts and getting people to volunteer and make it engaging. A lot of times volunteer events can be kind of boring, but you guys come up with some perfect jobs and get people engaged and committed for years on end. So thank Jackie and Margaret. All right. So it's time to celebrate some of our outstanding volunteers this year. This year's recognition process included a review of the amount of hours that volunteer gave to the city, in addition to acknowledgement of the ways that volunteers leverage their skills, time, and talents to make a critical difference in Tualatin. Earlier today, each of our outstanding volunteers were presented with a framed certificate and a lovely spring flower basket generously donated by the Garden Corner. So here's where it gets technical. So you folks, we want to get all the volunteers on the first frame of Zoom here. So on the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a little button called Reactions, a little happy face with a plus. You click on that, there's a little raise hand feature. Go ahead and click on raise hand. So all your faces go to the front. There we go. All right. Is that everybody or everybody who knows where the button is? Give people a few more seconds to get to the front of the pack here so we all can see your smiling faces. People are bubbling in here. All right. Well, thank you all for everything you've done this year. And our first category is Outstanding Youth Volunteers. We have 3 youth volunteers who demonstrate extraordinary commitment to the city and rose to the top of our list. First is Sadvika Vadapu. Sadvika started out in the Tween Takeover program 5 years ago and has volunteered every year since in 6 different volunteer programs, including Library Summer Team and Team Tualatin. In addition to being versatile, Sadvika has demonstrated a strong capacity for leadership on the Teen Library Committee, has even led her younger sister, Vika, sorry if I said it wrong, into volunteering for the city. Thanks to Vika for contributing 105 hours of your time and talent in 2021. Are you attending? There you are. Go ahead and raise your hand. Swing your hand, or your real hand. Thank you. Next up is Ava Marsh. Ava has been given her time, enthusiasm, and leadership abilities to city volunteer programs since 2019. Ava is a Team Tualatin volunteer, a youth advisory council member, and a do-it-yourself volunteer. Ava made a huge contribution to the community in 2021 through her DIY programs. She adopted the Jerriann Park Community Garden from June through September. This included soil preparation, planting, weeding, and watering throughout the summer. Ava's commitment to being a steward of the garden gave the community a beautiful public garden to wander through and learn about vegetables, herbs, and pollinator-friendly plants. Within the 98 hours that Ava served last year, she organized her scout troop to paint fire hydrants in one of the city's industrial districts. Ava has been all over Tualatin this year, contributing to the livability of our community. Is Ava here? There you are. Thank you, Ava. All right. Next up is Aaliyah DeLeo. Aaliyah has been volunteering as a library summer team since 2018 and has returned every summer since. In 2021, Aaliyah was everywhere, helping the library summer team, caring for our parks and trails with Team Tualatin, lending her ideas and leadership to the Team Library Committee, and assisting our community engagement coordinator in all 3 days of Viva Tualatin. Aaliyah's warm personality and can-do attitude make her an outstanding volunteer and a well-connected descendant of Tualatin. Thank you, Aaliyah, for your contribution of over 70 hours to our community. Where's Aaliyah? Is she here? Maybe not. Well, thank her for her time, and we now move on to our outstanding adult volunteers. First up is Bobby and Sheldon Siegel. Many of Tualatin's community members are folks who could not wait to get back to volunteer in 2021 or start volunteering. Among them, Bobby and Sheldon Siegel were the first volunteers welcome back to the reopened library to pick up where they left off as super shelfers. Bobby and Sheldon have contributed 2,325 hours of library service over their 13 years of volunteering. By our calculations, you have shelved over 280,000 items. We want to recognize Team Siegel for always giving your best, staying with us through the last 2 challenging years, and helping us reopen the library with your warm enthusiasm. We're truly grateful for all the ways you supported our community. Go ahead and wave your hands if you're here. There they are. It says Dave's PC. All right, thank you. But also, Beth Dittman. Beth's volunteer contributions totaled 180 hours across a wide range of programs. Beth has been the chair and vice chair of the Alton Parks Advisory Committee. She has also led the Diversity Inclusion Subcommittee addressing the native land and people for City Council. Beth and her family have been doing DIY volunteering for the last 2 years. In addition, Beth and her family have participated in putting down roots in Tualatin, spruce up the library, and our Veterans Day celebration. We want to recognize you, Beth, and your family for always giving your best, getting into the job at hand with enthusiasm, care, and a generous sense of civic duty. We are truly grateful for all the ways you've supported our community. It was good seeing you Saturday. Wave your hand, Beth. Thank you, Beth. Another adult winners is Tim and Laura Kellogg. Tim and Lori have lived in Tualatin for 31 years. The Kellogg's are avid walkers, and they began picking up litter on the walks back in 2010. The Kellogg's know Helgerson, a city park technician, and contacts Shelley with litter items to the handle or pick up several bags of litter. In 2021, Tim and Lori made their volunteering official by becoming part of the Do-It-Yourself volunteer program. Tim and Lori care a lot about trash and the health and well-being of our community. They communicated their concerns over growing amounts of litter on Tualatin streets and in green spaces. Their interest and concern inspired and helped launch a new volunteer program in Tualatin, Hug a Street Litter Blitz. There have been 2 Hug a Street events, each gathering over 5 yards of trash, with over 80 volunteers attending. The next event will be in November 2022. Not that far away if you think about it. Things are flying by. Thank you, Tim and Lori, for being passionate and vocal about litter, and for the 150 hours you contributed to keeping Tualatin clean, green, and a great place to live. Go ahead and wave your hands. Thank you very much. All right, that moves us to our outstanding volunteer groups. The people being recognized tonight are the Emergency Outreach Assistance Group. The Emergency Outreach Assistant Group is comprised of 4 dedicated volunteers: Maria Paleo Nguyen, Efren Mexicano, Laura Vargas, and Darnell Meyer. Working around their full-time job, our emergency outreach volunteers served over 60 hours, reaching out to community members who needed assistance. This assignment required excellent communication and time management skills, a sense of urgency, and empathy. We've not found better people for this role. We want to recognize you, all 4 of you, for caring about and showing respect for the vulnerable members of our community. For your sense of generosity and civic duty, we are truly grateful. Go ahead and wave your hands if you're here. Thank you. We also want to recognize the Juanita Poll Center Guest Services Team. The Juanita Poll Center Guest team is comprised of 4 dedicated volunteers. Not getting tongue-tied here, too much reading. It's comprised of 4 dedicated volunteers: Patricia Blackburn, Doreen Knoll, Sharon Knoll, and Mary Welsh. Our guest services volunteers are the friendly faces that greet our guests at the Juanita Poll Center, both in person and over the phone. The position requires a lot of flexibility, dedication, and knowledge of our programs and services. We are very grateful to our services team who helped create the warm and welcoming atmosphere of the Juanita Poll Center. On behalf of the City Council, City staff, and the entire Tualatin community, I want to thank all of you for all your efforts this year, and look forward to seeing you again next year in person at this event. And with that, I think that's it on the recognition. I do want to, I want to do this back in person where you get your proper recognition, when you get some snacks too. So again, thank you all for coming tonight and doing the outstanding jobs. And like all these hours just is amazing. We have terrific volunteers, and the reach and spread you have throughout our community makes this a terrific place to live. And effusive thanks, because it's terrific stuff that gets done with our volunteers. We couldn't do it without you. So have a terrific evening and enjoy the flower and put up that framed certificate. All right. That brings us to public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for anyone to address the City Council regarding an item that is not on tonight's agenda. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council, this would be the appropriate time. Do we have anyone based in the poll center or in the queue in the Zoom meeting? Bates?
Yes, Mayor, the only person who's reached out to us is Brent Beebe, who was in this meeting, and no one at the poll center.
All right, Brent, you're up.
Mr. Beebe, you're on mute if you'd like to unmute.
On the screen and can be used to control the computer using only your keyboard. If you already know how to use VoiceOver, press the V key now. You want to learn how
my computer's being too helpful at the moment.
Press the space bar now.
Stop helping me.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Beebe.
Hi, I'm Brent Beebe. I'm a naturalized Oregonian. I've lived here for 32 years, and I'm a Tualatin resident for 28 years. I live on Stono Drive, which is at the top of the hill next to the Horizon Christian School and just above the Tualatin High School. I live in a wonderful neighborhood, and I have great neighbors, some of whom I see here tonight. So hi, you guys. And I wanted to say first off that I'm going to be talking about a zoning change that will be proposed for some of the land that's being developed next to us, just south of us, south of Knoll Road. Generally speaking, I'm in favor of the development going on there. While I enjoy my view of the trees out in the front window, I've gotten assurances from some people that a lot of those trees are going to be kept. So as long as I can see the trees, I'm happy for them to do whatever they want over there. But one of the things that I've been a little concerned about is the plan to put an apartment complex on the on the northwest corner of the Basalt Parkway development. It's in a corner between two churches, between the Horizon Church and the Tualatin Hills Church that's on Boone's Ferry Road. They're planning to develop 10 acres, and from what I can see, it looks like it's going to be multifamily apartments. And I struggled a little bit whether to say anything here or not, because I have been a renter with no hope of owning a home, unable to buy into the Portland area market, and just through sheer luck and hard work was able to finally do it. So I didn't want to come across as being elitist, no apartments in my neighborhood. I don't feel that way. I appreciate and understand why people must live in multi apartments. Some people do it by choice, most don't. So with all that said, I would like to read you a letter that I composed and I had asked to have put in the record for tonight. And it'll take about 2 minutes, I hope. Mayor, councilors, and Tualatin residents. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to talk here tonight, and I'd especially like shout out to our council, Kristen Sacco, who's been extremely helpful to me personally with this issue and with a previous issue that I had with PGE a couple of years ago during our ice storms and things. And she facilitated me working with PGE, and I think we've actually resolved the problem that we had with the blackouts that always happened just on Stono Drive. So thank you, Kristen, I really appreciate it. So I'll get into the letter now. Mayor and councilors, I'd like to register my opposition to the zoning change to 10 acres along Norwood and Boones Ferry Roads as requested by Westlake Consultants. See Figure 1. I will share that figure if I can. See.
Remember, you only have a few more minutes, so you probably want to.
Okay, I've been talking too much. I'm sorry.
Mr. Beebe, can you email us a letter?
Yes, I can post on Google Drive. Okay. It's not the zoning itself I'm opposed to, but the intent to construct apartments next to an established neighborhood of single-family owned homes. I believe, and it's been my experience, that this will have a chilling effect on property values in the established neighborhood. I've researched this effect somewhat because there are several websites that purport to contain studies of this effect, and I did not visit them all. The two most credible studies I read after were one conducted by Mark Obrinsky and Deborah Stein in March of 2007 entitled Overcoming Opposition to Multifamily Rental Housing. They were with Harvard study. The second one was Rental Housing and Crime, Role of Property Ownership and Management by Terrence Rappan of the University of Virginia. As one might expect from the Harvard paper title, the aim of the paper was not to enlighten, but to influence using facts that suited the stated goal of overcoming resistance to multifamily rental housing, while the second actually statistically shows that multifamily rentals actually do correlate to an increase in crime in nearby previously established neighborhoods. Most of the other studies I found were contracting interests with predictable findings. One argument is that because the number of families at a single location, of course, there would be more crime per capita. However, one just has to look at the crime map in Tualatin, which is in Figure 2, that's supplied to the Tualatin Police Department that I screenshot today, that shows that 90 to 95% of Tualatin crime occurs in multifamily rental locations. I've given a screenshot of that map. You may notice that on the same area south of Tualatin High School had one crime dot. I would not be opposed to the zoning change if it were for family-owned condominiums, as there is an inverse relationship between home ownership and criminal activity in the neighborhood. I would also not be opposed to apartments, having been an apartment owner dweller for some time in my earlier years, but it would be better if they were constructed further south below new constructed neighborhoods. Say just above the Basalt Parkway proposed extension to I-5, where the acceptance of the apartment complex would be baked into the purchase of new nearby homes. However, this lot of 10 acres does not extend that far south. This is the plan proposed by the developers of new homes in the section just east of this site. There was not much opposition to that part of their plan. I was hoping that it applied to the whole of the Basalt area Tualatin side of the development, but apparently not. Because the parcel is so small at 10 acres, there would be little effect in restricting apartments to its southern end. If the developer can obtain land further south near the proposed Basalt Park extension, I would have no objection, as new houses built around it would already have values priced valued appropriately, and buyers go in with eyes open. They might also encourage more lower priced homes to be built around it where there is no opportunity for that now. I don't know how far along Westlake Consultants are with their zoning petition. Would like to stop it if possible, unless a change is made to condominiums instead of apartments for this 10-acre lot. In closing, I would like to reiterate that building multifamily rental units next to an established neighborhood causes property value loss on neighbors in established neighborhoods through no fault or control of their own. Thank you for your time and best regards, Brent Beebe.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Beebe. Are there any other public comments for tonight? Great.
No other have notified us, Mr.
All right. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. The consent agenda are items that are considered routine. They'll be adopted by one motion unless someone on the council would like them removed and heard separately later tonight. Tonight, the consent agenda consists of two items. Item number one, consideration of approval of special work session meeting minutes of March 17th, 2022, and the work session and regular meeting minutes of March 28th, 2022. And item two is consideration of approval of the late liquor license renewal for 2022. Any questions or requests to remove items from consent? All right, with that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda read. Any discussion on the motions? All right, let's go. We'll start with Councilor Pratt.
Aye.
Councilor Brooks.
Aye.
Councilor Sacco.
Aye.
Councilor Hillier.
Aye.
Councilor Reyes.
Yes.
Council President Grimes.
Aye.
I vote aye also. It's unanimous. That brings us to special reports. We have a special report tonight from TVFNR with the state of the district presentation. And there he is. Chief, where'd you go? You just moved. Everything's moving. Chief Frentress is here. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thanks for having me. My name is Kenny Frentress. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations for Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. So I oversee operations, our training division, and our EMS division. And tonight I'll be sharing with you our annual State of the District presentation. So let me pull this up. Let's make sure that you can see it okay. Can I see that fine? Great. I'm happy to take questions along the way, or if you'd like to hold them to the end, we can do an A at the very end as well. So I will just roll through this. So 2021 was very challenging for us, as I imagine it was for you as well. We dealt with the ongoing global pandemic, significant ice storm event, significant heat wave, ongoing and increasing wildfire activity. But our focus remains strong, and I'm happy to report that we were able to maintain a fast and effective response to all of the communities that we serve, including Tualatin. Staffing has been a bit of a challenge for us this last year because we did have several of our employees go out on COVID positive, as well as quarantine and isolation, retirements, injury and illness. But the picture that you are looking at is our most recent recruit academy. They're in their academy currently as we still be graduating at the end of May. And so first they'll be out on fire engines, ladder trucks, and the rest apparatus. So we're excited about that. We are planning to do 2 academies per year moving forward for at least the next several years to try to keep up with attrition. We've got a lot of people that were retiring. And I'll speak about that in a minute, but 2 academies for us is typically we do 1 academy per year. This academy was 25 folks, and our August academy, which will be right on the heels of this academy graduate, will be another 24 firefighters and fighter paramedics. So as I mentioned, we have a lot of people that potentially might retire. We know about 38% of our managers and chiefs can retire in the next 5 years. So we have a big focus towards developing the future generation of leaders. On the left, there is a big Captain Karen Buriker. She's our newest captain, and our own male captain. She serves down in our new station in Charlotte in South Wilsonville. We continue to seek a diverse workforce and increase the number of female work for us, but we're actually doing rather well. In fact, nationally, about % of career firefighters in the U.S. are female, and at Life Fire and Rescue, our number is 7%. But we can always do more. Things that we do is a girls' fire camp, year fairs. We have a single role paramedic program that has brought in a significant amount of diversity to our organization, and we continue to do outreach. On the far right, there is a picture of Captain Gennaro Sarza. He's one of our second language speakers. He does a lot of outreach and public education so that we can connect with our diverse community that we serve. This next year, we're going to be focusing on wildfire prevention, apartment landlord outreach, and care home engagement. And I'm happy to report that on March 1st, we returned to normal operating mode, which was great for us. As for 2 years, we were in emergency mode and then contingency mode as of COVID. And we're about to conduct a public attitude reach to better understand how we serve our communities. In November, we passed our bond. I'm extremely grateful for the ongoing community support that we received. We received the AAA bond rating from Moody's and sold our first round of bonds in March. And we got a $9 million bonus with a 1.49% borrowing rate. So we're very pleased with that. Our investments with dollars are as follows. We'll be replacing a number of response vehicles and fleet apparatus. 10 of 29 fire stations will receive improvements. We have funding set aside for safety upgrades and high fidelity at our training center, which is located just adjacent to Tualatin off of Tonquin Road, and then purchase land for future fire stations. This may be familiar to you. This is in every year in the state of the district. This is a bunch of data on Station 34, which is the city of Tualatin. And so I'll just kind of walk through and hit the highlights. Top, this is for calendar year 2021. At the top, total incidents of 3,343. We've got our incidents broken down by call type. And as you can see on the far left, kind of upper left, EMS is the highest percentage of calls at 80%, a little over 80%. And that's on par with what we see throughout all of the communities that we serve, and actually nationally, 80% of all calls, 911 calls, are EMS. Going down further, you can see that we have subcategories: struck fires, cooking fires, vegetation, and so on. And this helps really drill down and inform where our problems are, and that helps us deploy to our problems. In the lower left, we break calls down by hour of the day. In Tualatin, you can see it's pretty steady from about 9 o'clock to about 6 or 7 in the evening, and then starts to slowly taper down. Day of the week, not a significant change, although it is a little bit quieter on Sunday. And then far right, there you see we trend out a number of years. And 2020, there was an overall calls, and we think that that had a direct relationship with COVID and people sheltering in place and kind of staying. The upper right-hand corner there, that's what we call a heat map, where you see the very bright colors. That's where a high density of calls is occurring. Typically, we see those in care homes, foster living, that type of thing, where our crews are going to that same address a number of times. And in the lower right, and the last is the percentage of calls that are handled by the station. So Station 34, about 56%, 35, which is King City, and then 39, which is one of our stations that are off McEwen Road. In September of 21, we opened up our newest fire station, which is Station 4. It serves the Charbonneau community in South Wilsonville. This is staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with a company officer and a firefighter. They are on a rescue, which is a transport capable unit. And we're very excited about
the computer, and it's recording now. I dump space and then it records.
We're very excited about the impact that they've had on that community, as well as their ability to feed back north into Wilsonville and parts of Tualatin.
Over. Stop recording, let it leave it on. When I was on mine.
Hey, Bates, you're not muted.
Thank you. Good to go. I'll go ahead and continue. And so we're hoping to have an open house in spring or summer of 2022. That's been challenging. We really enjoy having an open house when we open up a new station, and that's been old. But we're shooting for spring or summer of 2022. This is a picture of, oh boy, how do I go back? Well, I'm just going to explain some information here. I'm not exactly sure how to go back when I'm screen sharing. The picture that you may have first seen was a picture of a pilot program that we have, which is our Community Health and Resource Management CHARM program. We're about 9 months of that pilot program, and really the focus of that is to handle our high utilizers of 911, because if we can drive down the amount of times that they're utilizing 911, that keeps our heavy assets, our engines, our ladder trucks in service for the more critical calls. There's a lot going on in EMS. Nationally, we know that we've got to continue to make system improvements because, as you saw, 80% of our calls are EMS. Recently in Washington County, we've been working with the private ambulance provider and other fire agencies as they've had challenges with their staffing and transport reliability. And during February, an emergency agreement was put in place so TVFNR could transport patients when the private provider was needing help. The next slide you would have seen, I think there was just a flash of it, was a picture of several of our firefighters and conducting wildland training. We learned a lot from the last couple of years with the increase in wildfires, not only in our service area, but across the state of Oregon, devastating wildfires. And we've made significant improvements and focused efforts towards training and equipment, and we will continue to do that this spring with a big push to get our folks ready and prepared for this upcoming wildland season. We helped the passage of Senate Bill 762 to increase mitigation in urban interface areas. And Chief Hallman, which is one of our assistant chiefs, is serving on the Governor's Wildfire Response Council to determine how legislation and funding will support local efforts for homeowners and TVFNR to prevent and respond to wildfires. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to conduct outreach in different ways to better serve our communities. And we started an interactive newsletter called Safety First, highlighting seasonal information. And we conducted several wildfire webinars to help homeowners prepare for emergencies in their area. And with that, I am happy to field any questions that you have. Maybe I could figure out how to go back. It's always different in the Zoom environment.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Any questions for Deputy Chief? Okay, I guess I got, so it looks like it's calls in Tualatin year over year are fairly consistent despite our growth.
Yeah, they have been fairly consistent. Let me go back to that. Yeah, so they're averaging, between 32 and 3,400 calls a year from 2017 to 2021, which is kind of interesting because you do typically see a correlation with an increase in call volume with growth. They're holding fairly steady.
Right. And it always amazes me the percentage of medical calls versus actual fires. So it looks like there were roughly about 20 structural fires this past year.
Yep, in Tualatin, that's correct. Yep.
Wow. That's not bad. I'm always amazed how, it's a good thing how few fires we experience, structural fires, be it business or residential, which is, terrific. And that, a majority of work is responding to emerging medical service. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think, there's obviously we do a ton of education and, smoke alarms, sprinklers, people understanding to create defensible spaces, particularly vegetation with the, climate that we've seen and the increase in wild behavior. So, and then fortunately or unfortunately, if they do have a fire, we're able to typically get there in a timely manner and minimize the damage. So, yeah, interesting.
Okay. And two things I always ask so you can remind folks, how often should they replace the batteries in their smoke detectors?
Well, we used to say when we changed the clocks, that was a perfect reminder of changing your batteries, which I'm not sure if we're going to change the clocks moving forward. That'll be interesting to see. But so I guess twice a year, every 6 months. Mm-hmm.
And then I know grease fire is like one of the biggest fires. What can a resident do if a grease fire starts? Is there any quick and dirty resolution to that while they're calling you to come out that they can dampen the fire with?
Yeah, excellent question. And I appreciate the question because those are things that we can actually really minimize the damage by doing the right thing early. And that's have an extinguisher nearby when you're cooking with hot oil or grease, or have a lid right next to the pan that you're cooking with and slide the lid. Or what you don't want to do is you don't want to throw water on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That will spread it.
That will spread it really quickly. Yep. So slide the lid over it or have your extinguisher nearby and know how to use it. And that will really minimize any ability for that fire to spread.
All right. And one time I was told, sometimes if you have baking soda close by, throw some baking soda on it.
That'll work too.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Councilor Pratt.
I have to say you have a great name because it's shared by my husband and grandson.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah. I wondered if you, since you do two things or a lot of things, but if you had let's say you had a big structural fire around in Tualatin, what kind of system do you have in place to call out additional people outside this area, deal with, the EMS situations and potentially a big fire?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Well, we're a regional fire district. So as you know, we serve 11 cities, and really we manage risk every day, every hour, every minute. So as one area vacates, we serve a larger area. So we move resources around, we move resources up based on the need, based on where we see, a bigger area that needs to be served based on calls that are occurring. So it really is a very dynamic deployment model in which we try to minimize the risk to all of the areas that we serve. And we rely on our neighbors. We have mutual aid agreements with Lake Oswego, with Hillsborough, with Canby, with Clackamas County Fire District number 1, and we rely on Portland. So when we deal with a significant or multiple significant fires, we'll rely on our neighbors to come help, and we give them help as well. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah. And so how, not to keep pounding your questions. So,
No.
The station on McEwen opened during COVID. How's that working out? I saw you had, a few calls. So they're more concentrated on that side of I-5, Tualatin and assisting LO. What kind of calls have they been getting?
It's been really beneficial for us because it's actually balanced out our distribution of calls between us and Lake Oswego and really helped support the city of Tualatin. So we data monthly, and there's been a significant improvement in our ability to not only serve that community, but to help with us not pushing in Lake Oswego and being able to feed into Tualatin when Station 34 is vacated.
All right, yeah. Because we never got the big grading because of COVID.
Well, we're banking on that we're going to be able to do that, but
all right.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah, all right. Any other questions for the Deputy Chief? Well, thanks for coming tonight and giving your presentation. You always got good presentations, and the stats we see are good that you guys are getting out there saving people who are getting having medical issues, and that fires are a pretty rare event here in Tualatin. So
yeah,
thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'd also like to congratulate the volunteers. That was a moving video, and obviously a significant amount of hours that folks volunteered and made a difference in the community. So congratulations to those folks.
All right,
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, that brings us to items removed from consent, which we had none. So move on to council communications. We did not do our roundtable as we traditionally did do at work session because we ran out of time. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And we'll start off with Councilor Pratt.
I had two things. I wanted to mention we had our 12 Police Foundation meeting, and I just wanted to remind everybody that their police will have their Take Back event on April 30th in the parking lot at the police station. And then C4, we're trying to move on to housing, but we had to have our little talk about tolling. So where it stands right now is that TPAC did pass with some of the amendments I mentioned and move that for Metro. But MPAC, which is the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, which is led by Joe Buck, they want to move forward with an amendment because basically I-205 is that's that tolling funding available. They can move forward with that, but the the regional, we have to get approval from the federal government. So what their amendment they want is that if when the project for I-205 has been paid for, if that is not, if there is no regional tolling at the time, they want it to sunset on I-205 too. So we don't have this perpetual 7 miles of tolling and nowhere else. So that is going to go to Metro on Thursday for a vote. If they have to vote no and then send this back to JPAC to get this amendment that MPAC is asking for. So it's a little confusing, but we're going through the process. And then on housing, it was a really good informative conversation. And I think the big takeaway was everyone agreed that we have to be collaborative about how we're handling this, and that we need to have locations for homeless people in different areas, like out in the areas, not just one central location, but, locations throughout the region for people to go to. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a meeting this week with our Public Works Director, Rachel Sykes, and we discussed the upcoming programs, messaging that's coming up for the Water Consortium. So one thing I wanted to remind people is that Fix a Leak kits are free. They're extended. The Fix a Leak program is extended through the end of April. And I think some are still available at the library, or you can go online to bit.ly/FALW-promo, Fix a Leak Water, FALW-promo. And they just ask you a few questions. There's one for toilets and one for kids to be leak detectives. And I think that people don't really realize how much it can affect your water bill and how much water is really lost through leaks. So just a reminder to tighten it up at home. I'm learning so much myself. And save yourself some money and save the planet some stress. As we know, we just saw the fire chief. And I also wanted to say that upcoming April 24th through 30th is Water Week. And this is focused on the importance of legislative advocacy to safe, reliable, and affordable drinking water. So that's joining with professionals and advocating so that that stays available. And the following week after that is Drinking Water Week. So you might see things pushed from the city and messaging pushed from the city on these items. I also have an upcoming meeting with PAB that's a public meeting, and it goes over the approval of fiscal year 2022 action plan. So just want to invite the public to attend that if there's interest, and that's March 14th. And finally, I wanted to say again, happy Earth Day, and just acknowledge the city has the Earth Day on the 22nd. Jackie is leading a invasive poll, I believe, and then we're doing a litter blitz. I also, since we talked about it, really wanted to acknowledge student leadership that also helped start the Street Clean program, and I'm really proud to have partnered with the city. And then just to acknowledge Marilyn over at the Poll Center, who started a really nice group, EcoWise. And since we talked about recycling, one of their events is a field trip to this big recycling center in Wilsonville. Lunch is included. They're also doing a forest bat, like a walking with a therapist in the forest, and lunch is included in that as well. So just be on the lookout for those activities, especially as people are thinking this month about Earth Day. And again, happy holiday to those who celebrate, and I hope everybody has a nice holiday. And I know I'm not the only one that has one of those chairs at the table this year. And just my thoughts to everybody who's lost people over this COVID time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hillier.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to report.
Great. Councilor Sacco.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify our public comment this evening. The apartment complex that's being referred to is not the SEPA project. And when the community first came to me, I automatically assumed the SEPA project because I was not aware of this other apartment complex that was being talked about until we got a brief from the city manager. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified where those comments are coming from, as the community has came to me as I live in that area. And I also just wanted to note that they were all noticed of a meeting for the developer of this program, and then they canceled the meeting last minute. And I wasn't noticed because I'm a little farther in, I think, into the neighborhood. So there's a huge want for more information and knowledge, as they were kind of thrown a little bit of information and then sort of it was taken back from them. So I'm hoping to be able to bridge that gap and get them the information that they desire. But I just wanted to add some context that maybe was missing from those comments, as it'll definitely impact my side of Tualatin that I live on as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Reyes.
Another report this time. Thank you.
Okay. Council President Grimes.
I have no reports or dates tonight.
All right. I've only got three. On April 6th, Senator Murphy held his Washington County town hall via Zoom, but he had a time earlier than the public version of the town hall for Washington County leaders. I attended that. Of course, the biggest topic of discussion is transportation dollars and the potential for earmarks, and people plug in their own, plug in the projects in their communities to Senator Merkley, saying how good they are. There's also school board members advocating for continued funding, some of the COVID dollars to schools, especially lunch programs, lunches for all at the schools. They want that to continue. And there was a couple of comments about water, the low interest loan available for water. And, Senator Merkley is very key on that in making those kind of loans to both cities and water districts in getting water infrastructure either built out or rebuilt. On Saturday, I was with Jackie at the Arbor Day tree planting event in Jerriann Park. They had about 80 people show up. I want to thank the premier sponsor is PGE. Of course, Friends of Trees had their folks there, as well as the River Keepers. And the park's maintenance staff was helping out to coordinate the planting. So I want to thank all of them. Friends of Trees came with 500 plants we planted in Jerriann Park. It's mainly up near the river. So if you go to the back part of the park, that's where a lot of the plantings were. It's going to replace a lot of the grass. They created hedgerows. As I learned that hedgerows are terrific areas for wildlife to feel safe in, to coordinate. Bees love hedgerows, and they also save water because though the trees are all close together, water goes in. I had the opportunity to plant a new big tree, a red maple, along with Maria Pope from PG and some PG volunteers. So if you go into Jerriann Park, look to the tree furthest to the left. PG, Maria Pope, and I planted that baby. It's a big tree, and I know one of the things that was Washington Park's maintenance staff is those trees far back between they're in front of the trail. They have to hand water because water doesn't get, not enough water sometimes gets there, and they're in a heat dome. the bombs of the trees, you can see they turn black, charring from the heat. So we actually have our parks maintenance staff have to go all the way to the back of that park, and they water some of those trees to keep them alive. I want to again thank Jackie Conan for coordinating, getting volunteers there. Sesame Donuts had donuts. It was a terrific event. The rain held off. It was only a little drizzle, and it was a fun time to get those trees planted, bushes, shrubs, everything, their pollinator stuff. So I'm looking forward to all that going out, because it's going to be a lot of vegetation in the back part of the park. And then finally, this morning, I went to the WEA breakfast. First they've had in 2 years. It was the Metro President's Candidate Forum. It was very informative. They're going to have one at the end of the month, which should be very interesting also, for the Washington County Chair. So Councilor Pace and Washington County Chair Harrington will be there in the morning. They're held at Embassy Suites in Tigard at 7:30. WEA sends out the invites, but that should be another very interesting candidate forum. And that's all I have. Do we have anything else tonight? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, come on, somebody second this. I have a motion, a second to adjourn for tonight. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, just raise your hands. This is a handful of us left. All right, have a good evening, everyone, and have a terrific holiday coming up here, Easter. Have a good night.
That all.